You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, my.
The year is 1973. We are in the middle of the new Hollywood movement. Films like The Graduate, Easy Rider, and The Last Picture Show have set a new standard for what audiences should expect from these kinds of films that we should be seeing this decade. Radical, sexually charged, and contemplative on the American status quo that has been normalized in the United States post-war era. From this era, filmmakers sprouted many mainstays that are known as some of the most well-regarded directors of all time, even to this day. However, after the financial failure of the first film of today's director, he was feeling rather directionless in his career. After a conversation between him and one of his other closest friends, who was also a well-known filmmaker of the period, he presented our director with a challenge: make a dumb studio comedy. That, air quotes, dumb studio comedy is what we are going to be watching today. Now, of course, as everyone knows, the tradition on this show is for Tony to open up the film sack. I thought it was getting kind of stale, but you know, you can't break tradition, so why don't you go ahead and just reach your hand on in there. I don't think there's anything weird that's going to be happening or anything like that.
I mean, I hope not.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to this sack.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm looking. Not feeling shit. It's a note.
No. Put the movie in there last night, so I don't know what's going on.
Please, no return of fucking of our friend Austin Powers. Please, no.
I finished all 3 of those, so I don't know how that would happen.
The bag has fulfilled its purpose. It is no detective. No defective?
Now defective.
It is now defective. Well, shit. What? Well, it's gone. I don't know what you want out of me.
That looks like I got an email notification. Okay, it's giving us a date and what looks like a barcode for 2 film tickets. We'll worry about that later. Not anything to do now, but it looks like in the same email is attached a small message. Tell the idiot to open the pillow next to you on the couch.
A pillow?
Notice he responded to idiot.
Fuck you. Fuck you, eat shit.
Yeah.
All right, well, what?
Yeah, put that slate off to the side and go and open the
Our regular pillow that we just have here?
There's a zipper on there.
Yeah, I know there is, but god damn. Well, for fuck's sakes. There's something in here.
Yeah.
American Graffiti.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be watching the 1973 masterpiece, George Lucas's sophomore feature film, American Graffiti. While thought at the time to just be a simple, dumb studio comedy, including by Lucas during the writing process, it became something much more complicated. He would end up hiring 3 writers in total, 2 of which entirely didn't get the concept because they didn't understand what he was going for, and then one of which was the last person, being himself.
Okay.
He would then go on to rewrite the script to fit in with his Southern California small town. As described by Lucas himself, this is a historical document to preserve the mating ritual of his youth in the year 1962. The Southern California art of cruising. This was when gas was cheap and every teenager could afford a used car. On these nights, people would slow down in the SoCal streets, and a cacophony of hormonally charged teenagers would scream at each other, playing musical chairs in each other's cars. This film is filled to the brim with 60s radio mainstays by artists like The Beach Boys, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, and many, 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 many more. You will need to be looking at the soundtrack after this just to understand the scope. And what I would also say is this film's best special effect, and possibly George Lucas's best special effect in his entire career, and that includes the original Star Wars movie. The sound design and mixing is the weirdest shit in the world.
Okay.
And I think it's fucking brilliant because it transports you into this other world during the events of cruising. Because everyone was tuned in for the most part to the same radio station, the streets end up feeling like this cacophony of noise that can't be described.
Yeah.
You have to watch it to understand it. Yeah. Tony, after my several years of hype behind this, because you know this is one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
What do you know about this movie?
Well, I know that you've talked about it a lot. You've always said it's for the list. Don't go out and watch it. Yeah. You know, we go to this theater sometimes in Portland, the Hollywood, and they used to, or at least they used to, have a vending machine with VHSs in it. Yeah. And I would get those sometimes whenever we're at like special movies. I know for one of them was American Graffiti. We got that hanging out over there. Yeah. You know, it's destined that at some point I would watch this movie. Yes. You've given me like the plot synopsis, and you've told me a little bit about this movie.
Yeah, I've given you the pitch for the plot. But...
Yeah. It's, you know, it's the sort of thing where I'm like, I don't know where you would go with this sort of thing. I mean, aside from it just being like a regular hangout movie. So
this is the grandfather of hangout movies. Well, not the first. It definitely pioneered what that genre would do. Richard Linklater's fingerprints for stealing all this shit. The cops have dusted the area for fingerprints, and he's stolen so much from that movie. And I mean that in no harsh way towards Richard Linklater. We love him on this channel.
We like a little bit of theft on this channel. But no, it's going to be really special. I'm sure I mean, I see this little special edition tag. Maybe you'll have to explain some special edition changes at the end.
Because as you know, George Lucas.
Yes, I bet you have.
Let me also state with this, as much as I may have some not so nice things to say about some stuff that George Lucas has done to his work, George Lucas is a genius. And I love George Lucas with all my heart.
Yes, we love him. We love his movies. Yeah. And I can't wait to give this one a chance. Let's see if the hype plays out.
Welcome, one and all, to this year's theme. This year on the list is the year of genre filmmaking. Now, I got one question to ask you and the rest of the audience. Where were you in '62?
American Graffiti. Where were you in '62?
Grab that special one and jump into your candy-colored custom or your screaming machine, cruise downtown and catch American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. Baby, what's that?
It's a movie.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Go back in time.
Where were you in '62?
Is that you in that beautiful car? Jeez, what a waste of machinery.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
What did you say? Someone wants me. Someone roaming the streets wants me.
And I bet you're smart enough to get us some brew.
A ballpoint pen, a pint of Old Harper.
Okay, you got an ID for the liquor?
Nah, I left it in the car.
You'll have to get it before.
Oh, well, I forgot the car.
We're finally getting out of this turkey town. You just can't stay 17 forever.
You ever get tired of going steady with somebody that ain't around? I'm up for grabs.
If I had a boyfriend, he'd pound you.
What's wrong?
Go to hell.
Get your boogaloos out, baby. The Wolfman is everywhere.
16 candles.
You know Toby Juarez?
We killed him last night.
Excuse me, but I think we've had an accident.
Well, I won't report you this time, but next time just watch it, will you?
Can't stand it, man. I can dig it.
It's one of those great old movies about romance, racing, and rock and roll.
Oh, American Graffiti. American Graffiti. Where were you in '62?
Tony, would you care to give us a brief plot synopsis, if at all possible, on the 1973 or 4, can't say off the top of my head, classic directed by George Lucas and produced by Mr. Francis Ford Coppola, American Graffiti?
There are 4 boys or men, depending on like the stage of life that they're at. They're all kind of from the same hometown. They all kind of know each other back and forth from whatever. There's some of them that are losers. There's some that are generally regarded as like the cool kid on the block with the cool jacket and the cool shirt that does this with their cigarettes.
Yeah.
They're all driving around because that's the only thing to do. And they've all just kind of like burning up this last night that they're all supposedly supposed to be together. You know, there's some people are lending their cars, some people are losing their cars. It's people driving around and experiencing life in this little small town. You know, some people get beat up, some people do silly fucking practical jokes with their friends and get, you know, ditched somewhere on the side of the road, and there's all kinds of shit that happens. There's a lot of stuff that happens, but it's all just these characters mulling around about their life and where they are and where they want to be.
Yes. And you're describing the story now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do a plot synopsis because things do sort of just happen. And, you know, you kind of like... I guess the only thing that holds straight through the whole story is there are 2 characters that are trying to figure out whether or not they're actually going to be on this plane that's leaving for uni the next day.
I would say a couple things in that before I start asking your thoughts. One, you said kind of pointlessly, aimlessly driving around. I did not explain this too well in the opening. The act of cruising in the late 50s and early 60s was something that was unique to that time period because culturally the teenager was a thing for the first time.
No.
You know, beforehand it was adolescence and adulthood.
No.
There's no in-between things. The teenager was ostensibly capitalism creating a new market to sell to.
Yeah.
You know, you have people who are younger, not during a war-torn period that is up in your face in America's sort of like time of supposed prosperity in the 50s and everything. So now that we're financially all okay, let's consume, let's buy.
No.
Let's let kids roam around and consider them a different designation as they're either in young adulthood or approaching that and they want to be young adults.
Yeah.
And cruising, as George Lucas puts it, is a mating ritual.
In the 70s, when I was working in the film industry, obviously we've been through the 60s, and that whole innocence of the 50s, the mating rituals of the 50s, the uniquely American mating rituals of meeting the opposite sex in cars was very fascinating to me. I really liked this kind of lost ritual that had gone on in the United States between 1940 and basically the beginning of the 60s.
It is a way for these kids to get laid. It is not aimless.
No.
They are all looking to get fucked. And it's, I don't know, it's like he talked about like this is historical preservation. And yeah, I would argue that's kind of important. Because culturally, had a movie like this not documented it, I'm sure it would have been remembered by some people, but like while cruising was a thing around the country, it was so prominently in Southern California, where Lucas grew up.
Yeah, it's just spacious enough that there's plenty of places to drive, but also condensed enough that there's like things to do and people to meet and all that sort of thing. And
the other thing I would bring up, you say that it's like there are 2 people, sort of like the one continuous thing throughout the movie, and we'll get more into detail on this later. It was just they're trying to decide whether or not they want to go off to college. I would argue every character, including all her female side characters, including the kid who's probably like a freshman, Toad.
Yeah, Toad.
All of these people are trying to make a decision on whether or not in life they're okay with this present state of being trapped. And we will come back to this later, but to me, all of George Lucas's directorial movies are about that.
You must understand I need you here, Luke.
But it's a whole nother year.
Look, it's only one more season.
Yeah, that's what she said when Biggs and Tank left.
Where are you going?
Looks like I'm going nowhere.
Not a single one of them, to the point where literally it's like Anakin in the prequels. These are movies I don't even like. He's a literal slave.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
You can't get any more on the nose than that, I suppose.
With that being all said, Tony, what did you think of George Lucas's American Graffiti?
Oh man, I very much like George Lucas's American Graffiti. I very much liked it.
Yeah.
No, as much as I say like, oh, it's aimless, it's kind of pointless, people, mulling about their lives and that sort of thing. It's kind of just the way that hangout movies are. And like you said, this is kind of the definitive hangout movie.
Yeah. Dazed and Confused stole so much.
If it's coming from a place of supposing to be a comedy, right? And this is the only way I could... and we say, like, oh, it's a weird kind of thing to say, oh, it's supposed to be a comedy.
Yeah.
But I can't think of George Lucas making a comedy any other way.
Come on, Kurt. We can't be spending half the night chasing girls down for you.
Lori, I'm telling you, this was the most perfect, dazzling creature I've ever seen. She spoke to me right through the window. I think she said, I love you. That means nothing to you people? You have no romance, no soul?
No, like, because that's George Lucas. Ultimately, regardless of how all of us feel about them, I know the prequels have a lot bigger of a fan base than they ever did, especially like when we were in school and everything.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he likes to make very personal films, even if it's not on purpose. And something I find very interesting about this movie is just how personal this movie is. Not just in the obvious ways that I'll get into, but in sort of like examining each of the characters. In the book, the biography that was released on George Lucas, can't remember the title off of my head, but I did read it last year in sort of preparation, knowing I was going to do this episode. You have all these people, including his ex-wife, who edited this movie, who... Marshall Lucas, where Marshall Lucas stands
The
here.
dream team, these two.
You ask all these people, it's just like, oh, well, what character is clearly an analog for George? Everyone who knew him at different stages... We'll say a different character.
I was gonna get into the characters as far as the way that these four kind of meander around their fucking town. It makes me feel like they're all just four kind of separate parts of the same fucking dude who's just trying to figure shit out. That these are all maybe George at different stages of his life,
or more just different facets of George as a person.
Yeah,
in general,
everyone tugging this center human fucking piece of meat around in different directions. The part of him that's kind of scared and that kind of doesn't know what he wants to do.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think I'm gonna be going tomorrow.
Come on, what are you talking about?
Well, I was thinking I could wait a year, go to city.
The part that's overly ambitious and gets himself in all kinds of, hijinks like Toad. Yeah. And then there's the one that thinks he is a really truly cool, but is kind of like afraid that he'll be shown up somehow, some way by somebody.
And then I believe, not 100% on this, I believe Marcia did say his closest analogous analog is Ron Howard's character, Steve, because his whole proponent of this being like, oh well. I just want to focus on me while I go to college, and I want our relationship to be separate.
Consider ourselves adults.
Right. I thought maybe before I leave, we could agree that seeing other people while I'm away can't possibly hurt,
But once again, get more into that, but I guess one thing I did want to bring up is sort of the very literal evolution of who George was and who he became and how he sort of got into the conceit of wanting to be a filmmaker. So firstly, genre, what this whole year is about, and you've already brought it up with comedy. Genre can be a very restrictive thing on creative people, especially trying to work in the Hollywood film industry. With it being that kind of restrictive, someone like George, who was and is, at least from his perception, very countercultural in the kind of cinema he was interested in. Him and Francis Ford Coppola, it's like they had such a difficult time dealing with the studio system because they wanted to make art.
Yeah.
And you need to sell a commercial product.
Yeah.
So, you know, last year I showed you THX 1138.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once again, we had to watch the special edition,
Yeah.
which had some not great stuff in it, but I mean, we watched. It's great.
Yeah.
THX 1138, I think, is a fucking masterpiece of its era, and it's one of those so clearly like he's a college kid trying to state, "I want out."
Yeah.
And it did really poorly. Warner Brothers apparently cut out a bunch of stuff, which was the start of his kind of ill-tempered relationship with studios. And after it did poorly, no one wanted to work with him again because he turned his experimental college short into a weird, cerebral fucking, like, commentary on American capitalism. Like,
I want to buy shape, but I don't want no shape no more.
Square peg, round hole. Then it's like he feels extremely lost. He's getting started on this weird little, like, idea for some sort of like a Flash Gordon adaptation. Nothing ever came of it, though. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
No one ever watched that movie. It's a little shitty thing called Star Wars. While he was trying to work on this, he felt really directionless. No one wanted to take a hold of that, like, little sci-fi project he'd had in the back of his head, digging around, and would go through draft after draft after draft after draft. He hates screenwriting and all this shit.
Yeah.
But then he gets, approached by Coppola, him and Coppola were having, like, a bit of a tumultuous relationship. They had a very, very, very different personality type, right?
Yes.
So when they go to make this, the whole conceit is like, oh, okay, well, I bet you can't make, like, a silly comedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the 70s were about this period of experimentation and taking a lot of the stuff from the French New Wave and bringing it over to America. That's what we get, filmmakers like Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, all these big boys of the time who are making very weird, experimental, non-mainstream films getting released in the mainstream with larger budgets.
Yeah.
But that being said, something like a comedy is going to be something that appeals to mass markets. So when he eventually got in working with Universal to try and, like, help him make this script, they were expecting a comedy. George cannot not make something personal. George Lucas, in high school, got really terrible grades, had a really bad relationship with his businessman father, major capitalist, and just politically disagreed with him on everything, even though he didn't really have much of a political identity, and was just really into cars.
Yeah.
He loved hot rodding. He is fucking John.
I ain't going off some goddamn fancy college. I'm staying right here, having fun as usual.
He's this kid who doesn't want to go to college. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to live out in Modesto and drive his yellow hot rod. And just that's his life. One night when he was pulling out or back into his house, I can't remember, a car T-bones him, flips his car 4 or 5 times, and he almost died.
Yeah.
The doctor told him, you should have died.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And he sort of took that not necessarily as a sign from God, but just as a sign from the universe. I need to get my shit together. So in doing so, he goes and is going to go to college, and his dad is going to help him pay for it. And initially he goes over and he sees that they're doing this photography class because that's what he has interest in, but it's a fucking cinema class. Okay. He doesn't go to film school. He goes to, like, I believe he goes to a community college, and they're teaching this cinema course and everything, and it's a film studies course. And he gets super into that and photography and all this shit, and his dad's like, I'm not going to pay for it. Shit goes down that I won't get into it, but he gets super into cinema as a result. But like the main thing he loves is cinema verte, which is taking a documentary style of filmmaking and not necessarily making a linear, cohesive narrative, but just capturing people in this sort of state of reality.
Yeah.
And making that through editing the one thing that George loved so much, because it's the place he felt like he had the most control, and turning it into a story.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily need to make sense, editing was all over his fucking college films. That's the thing he fucking loved the most. So when you look at that, and you look at what he did with THX, and then you look at this, of course this guy who was tasked with making a basic genre film that would be a seller for studios cheap slop garbage and everything, would go and turn it into this deeply personal, intimate, sort of formless, weird thing. But the crazy part is it was a fucking cultural juggernaut.
Yeah.
Everyone loved American Graffiti when it came out, which is not what the studios were thinking it would be. But we'll once again get into that later. So I know it's a bit early for this. Normally we usually save this towards the end of the episode, but I think it is such a key integral part of what makes this movie. We're gonna talk about sound design.
And definitely not. Oh, that is a fuck.
The Wolfman loves music.
No, we're just gonna continue the streak of the studios must fucking hate this guy, and he must hate the studios. Just banger after banger after banger on the soundtrack. I'm pretty certain that if you measured it out on the actual end credits, that the soundtrack's credits would be longer.
Yeah, that's why I had to sit through the entire thing. Because I just wanted to get to that part where you just see the music and all the licensed music.
We got like the Beach Boys, obviously it's expensive, but then it's just this wall of other like bangers from around that same sort of time. And what does George Lucas do with the rights to like 3 entire soundtracks worth of soundtrack, but make them like just in cars passing by and echoing off of buildings so they're almost unintelligible, and using them for like genuine sound design purposes.
He turns it into the world itself.
Yeah.
It's such a weird concept.
Yeah.
But like, I'm engrossed so much because just like this whole thing, it's like half the time you can barely catch what people are saying.
Yeah.
But it's not annoying.
Answer the phone, dummy.
Pinky's Pizza.
Yeah, listen, you got any more of those secret agent spy scopes?
It's right on the stethoscope.
No, the secret agent spy scope, man.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like capturing that moment in time, almost like a documentary, how it would feel to try and like yell at someone from across one car to another car.
Even within their car.
Yeah.
The thing that like caught me so off guard when I watched this for the first time since I was 14 back in like 2021, 2022 is how authentically timeless this is. Sitting in a car with a girl that I'm dating or a couple of my friends with the music cranked way too loud and just driving around in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere.
Yeah.
And us trying to talk over each other. You're trying to have these intimate conversations, but you're speaking at such a volume that contradicts it. But that's what being a young adult and a teenager is.
Yeah.
Talking super loud about the things you're supposed to say in hushed tones.
And this goes into like editing, especially with the sound editing. It gets unintelligible. Some of this fucking noise with the same song being blared out of everybody's car.
Yeah.
And so it's got this weird Doppler effect. Some people go by and others is just way louder. And, the moments that really work is when it cuts in on something very important, and then that's the little tiny bit of the lyrics that he actually wanted to show you, right? That leads into this character moment.
Lucas is so about these little tiny moments in his story to build certain things that the scene needs to then be built around this song that could probably be inconsequential.
Yeah.
To the rest of the scene, but this one lyric's thematically cohesive enough.
And we need to find a way to get it in there.
Or even having this music in the background and just cutting in with the absence of sound. I told you it's like one of the best directed scenes in this movie, in my opinion. And that goes into like the use of the editing, the cinematography, the way the camera moves, the way the camera doesn't move, and the way the music and dialogue kind of cut out is that fucking sock hop scene.
Come on, what?
Please smile.
It's like these two characters are having an argument. It seems like at the beginning, it's like he's gonna ask her a question like, "Can we sleep together tonight?"
No.
Or will you marry me? He's gonna propose to her or some shit like that. But instead, he does the stupidest guy thing on the planet and can we, like, open up our relationship while I'm in college? And he's just a douchebag about it.
Yeah.
And he just acts like a tool the entire movie, but I never hate him, which is great, because Ron Howard's charming, and he would go on to direct movies like Willow, Apollo 13, all these sorts of things. He's the lead in Happy Days.
Yeah.
All this shit because George found him for this movie. It's really fucking cool. But, you know, they're going out after sort of having their spat even further at the sock hop. Spotlight comes down on them in the middle of this argument.
Yeah, because they're the golden couple of the school, apparently.
He's the president of the... He's the class president for his term. She's the head cheerleader, and they're being brought out, and they're arguing, and it's just this simple circle dolly shot that has to be choreographed with their movement and their performances, so their faces are constantly hitting the camera without looking at the camera. As you know from our films together, hitting your marks.
It's so fucking important, and it's so very hard.
It's an absolute bitch. I think one of the coolest things about them is after you get this argument, about like 3/4 of the way in, it just hard cuts to a wide, and it's just the music and the background, and you can't hear what they're saying anymore.
Yeah. You just get the view of all these people looking at them dancing, and you get her reactions from afar as to what the fuck he's saying to her.
And then she starts to cry, bury her face in his chest, and when he tries to say, it's gonna be okay, she says, go to hell. And then the next time you see them after a scene, once again, great with Richard Dreyfuss talking with this weird predatory fucking English teacher. Hard cuts back to them, and they're just all over each other.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
God.
It's fucking perfect.
God, no, it's that. It's the sound design as well is just fucking great all around. Obviously, we talked about the radios, and we should mention Wolfman is fucking great.
Wolfman Jack, real life radio DJ over in SoCal that George insisted was necessary. For the script, which
absolutely fucking perfect. He has a voice. I said this while we were watching. He's got the voice like every Primus character. just going down, get. Except he's a person with thoughts.
He's playing a character though.
We got that going on. He'll like cut through the fucking noise, like and be like, "Hey, pay attention." Hey, like almost supernaturally against what was. You know, just song playing and it's muffled out by like the engines roaring and all that sort of thing. His voice just comes in and it's just like, bam.
Rock and roll will stand, man. Who insists on the Wolfman telephone?
I like the sounds of just shit ricocheting off the buildings. Especially, there's a scene where they're playing I guess a very violent practical joke on this cop. The thing I like about that is... there's the horror movie sting sort of sound effect, but it is not like something that is produced, by strings and it's not like it's not something that's made to be that sort of thing. It is the sound of the industrial sector of this city, the trains going by, machinery running, that just makes this like weird cutting noise as he's getting closer to the cop car. It's really sick.
And because they've already introduced the Wolfman Jack wolf scream throughout it earlier as like diegetic noise, they can then translate it to non-diegetic noise. Even though wolves or coyotes being out there absolutely makes no sense.
Whatever, who gives a shit?
No, but like because your brain has already heard it.
Yeah.
It's like you're accepting of it now. It doesn't fuck with your sense of like your sense of reality in the scene, and it's super fucking cool.
It's all kinds of little hints like that. There's a scene where he's hot wiring a car, and it cuts in. The radio cuts in and cuts out. It's very like small, but there's lots of attention to detail in the sound design, in the soundtrack, in just about fucking everything. It's very very well put together. Very cohesive. And
very cohesive for something that, once again, could easily become very sloppy and incomprehensible.
Oh, that could have just been industrial grade slop of the time.
And once again, I think that's also something to thank for our editor here, once again, Miss Marsha Lucas, who took this, would eventually go and take Star Wars, which was, you know, as far as Lucas's friends were concerned, except for Spielberg, just an absolute fucking disaster. Spielberg could see the genius, because it was there. But Marcia had to be there to just be like, okay, this works, this needs to be taken out.
Yeah.
This whole climax has no stakes, so recut this and just put a bunch of inserts with overdubbed dialogue to give the rebels life or death stakes in the situation.
So you can only imagine all the work she's putting in behind the scenes on this one.
Oh,
to make it
100%.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine, like, obviously there's a script there, but I'm sure stuff changed from script to the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Once you've actually gotten there. So it just, like, it overwhelms me to try and think about assembling this movie. Because you have so many characters, so many separate threads.
Yeah.
That ultimately, a lot of them, while, like, arcs get fulfilled, the threads don't really go anywhere because they're teenagers, so...
That's the part that makes anything in this movie feel kind of aimless, is that the threads will kind of just end where they need to end, and, you know, you never find out who the girl in the white Corvette really is. You never really...
so purposeful, though.
Yeah. It's all for a reason, you know?
That girl in that white Thunderbird, it's like, you can't know who she is, because that is whether or not... That's the decision whether or not Dreyfus decides whether or not he's gonna leave. Like, he so badly wants to stay because what if I leave this behind? It doesn't matter. Yeah. You gotta fucking move out, and even if you're taking off in the plane and you see that Thunderbird going down the fucking road.
You gotta just keep on moving forward.
Yeah, and that's just fucking great. So, I brought up Coppola and Lucas and their tumultuous relationship at this point. Obviously, Coppola was like, he directed The Godfather by this point. He was very much sort of in the thick of, like, I made this really big fucking movie, and that had sort of changed throughout the tumultuous periods of production. They together had formed Zoetrope at this point.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this thing of, like, George, being raised very conservative, never wanted to get into debt.
Yeah.
And he never wanted to bet on something that he couldn't guarantee was some kind of success. And ultimately, as far as, like, financial stakes, he never really had to deal with that after THX.
Okay.
THX scared the pants out of him, and then every movie he made afterwards was just hit after hit after hit, even if it wasn't a critical hit.
Yeah.
Financially, he never had to worry about that, and he gained his independence after the first Star Wars movie. So with this, it's like, Coppola was a guy, we've talked about this in our past episodes on his movies, who just was very liberal in his finances. He just liked to throw shit at the wall, whatever he had, to see what stuck. And that got him in very hot water with stuff like One from the Heart.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff that didn't perform well. And then sometimes it did super well for him. So their personalities clashed a lot, and they were in a very tight spot with a lot of hot water in their relationship. When this movie was going through production, Coppola was really mad at George. George was really mad at Coppola. Shit just fucking happened a lot. And when they finally get to the test screening and George is just super anxiety filled, and it finally feels like something's going right, where they hold this screening for the public, no critics or anything, and it's going super well. It's for the correct teen audience, because teenagers ate this movie the fuck up,
as you'd expect.
Yeah, and just everything was going well. Everyone was laughing, having a really good time. But the Universal exec was there, and he did not clear the screening. He did not clear that the screening should happen. And once the screening was about to hit credits, he walks out of the room looking furious. George and Coppola follow him, and he just starts chewing George out. This is a disaster, even though everyone who was there is just like, what the fuck are you on?
Yeah.
And when I was listening to this whole thing in that audiobook for, like, the George Lucas biography, I was, like, crying, because I'm like, you evil piece of shit. He was having, like, almost hernias and would end up having a hernia and a near burst blood vessel filming Star Wars for Fox. Like, he's put so much effort into this, and you're seeing a success, but then suddenly you're just like, oh no, it's a disaster. And for all the things that him and Coppola disagreed on, Coppola pushed George out of the side and said, you motherfucker, how dare you?
Yeah.
And, like, that made me so fucking emotional.
Let's be real, CEOs and corporate types have no fucking idea what they're talking about a lot of the times, and they can just ruin everything that they touch.
And sometimes you need your best friend there to look at them and say, I've made a success. I know what a success is. Don't talk to my friend that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just like, for all they disagree and still to this day shit talk each other occasionally. Like, I watched that Megalopolis documentary, Megadoc, and George just throws in some undercutted jabs at Francis, but, you know, they're longtime buddies, so shit fucking happens. And I don't know. It's just so fucking wonderful and beautiful, and the fact that by the end, you know, fuck you. Our movie did well.
Yeah. It is a really culturally relevant movie. It's really important, I think. And especially with this cultural, like, time capsule. We've done another movie like this. It's been strucken from YouTube by the YouTube hatred gods of Sony. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood holds the same sort of place, where you want to use this amazing medium of film to preserve some specific time frame in history in such a specific way that, like, it's not direct and it's not like exactly like a documentary, but it catches the feeling and
that's what cinema verte is.
Yeah, the good fucking vibrations of the time that you just couldn't manage to do through boring fucking text on page, I suppose.
And in a similar way to, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, obviously it may be a bit easier to capture the 60s and the 70s, but it's still not easy, because there is such a cultural shift. The shift of cars from the 60s to the 70s. They had to get specifically collectors to capture what it was like to have a kid who had a really nice car.
Yeah.
Where that was his world. And he needed it to be in pristine shape with all these weird customized fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, Lucas's car, it's literally that yellow hot rod.
Yeah.
From that kid in that movie. Maybe not the same exact model, but like...
It might be weird, like, nowadays, cars are just cars. You get them, you get to where you need to go. They're all what people on the internet have fucking termed the blob, where they're all sort of the same exact ergonomic, economic shape that just cuts through the air exactly perfect.
But they're extensions of these kids' personality.
Yeah, they all have very specific vibes. We got Toad with his fucking Vespa, who barely works, like, crashes at the very beginning.
Yeah, and then he gets to borrow fucking Steve's car, which is a nice, very ergonomic, very safe little car.
This is a super fine machine. This might even be better than Daryl Starbird's Super Flex Moon. It is. It's better than Daryl Starbird's Super Flex Moonbird.
That he tries to look like a badass while he's driving.
Oh, yeah. Then you got, like, the yellow hot rod that we've talked about. We've got, like, this sort of kind of beat up blue little fucking something or other.
It's a little VW bug.
Yeah. It's maybe got a little attention put into it, but it's still, like, halfway between being a hot rod and being an economic little something or other.
The seats literally look like folding chairs inside. It's fucking great. But it fits every character. And I do want to talk about this. Characters.
Yes.
So, you know, we've talked about Steve and his girlfriend. Toad is the ultimate freshman.
I got a problem. See, I lost my ID in a flood, and I was wondering, since you're going in there anyway, could you pick me up some old Harper, some hard stuff?
He very much signifies George Lucas as his high school friends knew him. And a lot of his filmmaker friends. He's this skinny, awkward motherfucker who can't talk to anyone and wants to look really cool, so he'll just bullshit about stuff that doesn't actually exist.
I was going with a guy who had horses once.
Oh, yeah? I had a couple of horses myself.
Really?
And obviously, fucking Betty. I love Betty. They have a fucking Audrey Seymour Little Shop of Horrors vibe with each other, and they're delightful together.
Is this your car?
Yeah. I'm Terry the... well, they usually call me Terry the Tiger.
Yeah, it's really tough looking.
Obviously, you have John, and you have that chick's little sister, and that sequence... I say sequence, that storyline could be so easily creepy. So easily weird. We've seen the alternative version of that in Licorice Pizza, which is a movie. You haven't seen it. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Okay.
And that movie's all about grooming, but he is consistently trying to avoid, like, being looked at as a creep by everyone, because he was trying to, like, get this girl to come over in his car and go with him, and they send this, like, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
And everything. And the entire night, he's just treating her like a little sister, and she's all fucking... But you get some of the best fucking moments in the movie because of that. She's fucking around with this little fucking knob on his shifter and everything, and it's like Grogu in The Mandalorian.
Stop touching things.
one of the best scenes in the movie that I love and just visually looks fucking great is when they're getting fucked over by those like girls in the car over there and they throw a water balloon at her face and then they go at the stoplight, fucking stop in front of her, put shaving cream all over the fucking windows and empty the windows.
Tires, yeah.
And it's all this handheld shit. They have these big spotlights rotating around that like flare at the camera every once in a while. It's just gorgeous and wonderful and has this youthful fucking spirit to it.
Yeah.
And it feels like for the first time in a long time, this guy who's like so closed up with this little sister figure is having like fun for the first time.
Yeah.
In so long. And then obviously we'll get to the end credits, like right before where it shows us where they are. But it makes that all the more devastating when you learn what happens to him in a couple years and sort of the oncoming impending doom that is tied to his character. It's like, obviously, you know, he talks in the movie a lot about how he's known a lot of people and he's had a lot of friends who have died racing cars. And for obvious reasons to George, that's very personal because he almost fucking died.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of by writing at the end, he died in 1984 because of a drunk driver. It's kind of this like, this could have happened to me.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And that whole sequence with them walking through the junkyard, where he's kind of going through all these cars, being like, I knew my buddy right there, you wouldn't believe it, but that car right there was like the fastest in the county.
Board of Education was real impressed, see, so they come up, film the whole thing, now they show it in driver's education class. You probably see it if you get lucky. Of course, it's pretty tough when they take somebody with them.
And like that scene is all shot in the dark and you can barely see anything, but unlike the Day for Night shots, it has this naturalistic vibe to it. So there's no artifice. And she doesn't really know what to necessarily say, but he's kind of unintentionally emotionally pouring his heart out to this kid.
Yeah.
And then by the end, instead of it being a weird, creepy thing where he tries to like come on to her or anything, when he attempts to do that, it's just to coerce her address out of her.
All right, it's time for you to go home.
Yeah. And then, you know, she's like, well, can I have anything to remember you by? And he gives her the knob and gives her a little kiss on the cheek. And it's the sweetest thing in the world.
Fine, kid.
Gee, thanks. It's just like a ring or something. It's like we were going steady. Wait till I tell Marcia.
Wait a minute
till I tell
now.
everybody.
Don't go overboard with this thing.
I'll see you around.
You need somebody to keep you like humbled, I guess, and to keep you like grounded on planet Earth. And sometimes taking an odd situation with two people that you wouldn't think would ever hang out ever, and just putting them in this place where, you know, you kind of have to end up having a little bit of fun. You know, you kind of have to fucking get used to each other, or you're gonna tear each other's throats out. You know, it's really, really interesting to see how a character can open up like that.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have told some woman that he wanted to bang in the fucking graveyard of cars about all of his friends that he saw almost get killed in these things.
Yeah.
He wouldn't fucking tell them that, because that's not gonna help.
And once again, one of the few moments without music. It's really fucking quiet.
Weirdly somber.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Luke Skywalker prototype, Kurt, played by Richard Dreyfuss. In my opinion, the closest thing to Lucas as a person, as far as like all my research on who he was and everything is, and also my favorite character.
Yeah.
This is the character that in my 20s I have related to the absolute most, him and John, I would say, like, because they're the two sides of my coin for me personally.
Yeah.
That whole being trapped in your hometown while possibly also giving yourself constant excuses for that. It's depressingly relevant. And they also have the two different paths, you know. Kurt goes off to be a writer, and then John goes off and gets fucking killed.
Yeah.
I think Kurt is the most, like, well-rounded, while also being the character that probably says the least.
I'm the great pretender. Wow, wow.
This whole conceit, like I said, of being like a Luke Skywalker prototype. He's someone who desperately wants to get away but is too afraid to do it and needs some kind of like traumatic event to fucking move forward in his life. And his traumatic event, while not being his parents being roasted on a pike, is still my one shot at what he viewed as true happiness and romance, being nothing more than a fucking pipe dream of some woman being like, maybe I'll fucking give you some empty promise.
Just a little fucking ghost on the road.
Yeah, and that, you know, idea of it is kind of really only put in his head that maybe it's not worth it by Wolfman.
If the Wolfman was here, he'd say, get your ass in gear.
I say ghost on the road, and it's just this ghost of an opportunity that may or may not be hanging around for you. You always see it out of your periphery, and it's here to tempt you and keep you locked down and shut down in one place. Maybe if I just stick it out a little longer, things will work out. And it's often that temptation that leads to stagnation, right? And you have like plenty of opportunities to see like what happens to people that end up staying in this hometown. You got like the weirdo pervy teacher. You got the you got like these gangsters that he's stuck hanging out with, you know, that and you got people that own like local businesses that are just dorks and losers and kind of just like whatever. You know, he's got plenty of opportunities to see that this is where that path is leading me. This is where the ghost of opportunity is bringing me. And
obviously Wolfman himself.
Yeah. Wolfman is my favorite character out of the whole fucking thing. You barely ever see him.
I guess I should say, when I ask you this, who's your favorite out of the core cast, though?
Out of the core cast? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Toad.
Yeah, no, I
like,
get it.
I like Toads a lot. This is a lot more. I think that's the one I would be like...
Toad. Put them right next to each other in a picture.
But I don't know. I like John a lot as well. John's character feels like a sleeper to me. Like, you wouldn't be paying attention to it. You're like, this is just the B plot. This
that was me when I was 14 when I watched
this is the... If there's an A, B, C, and D plot, this is the D plot, where we're just driving around with this kid. And, you know, it's actually sitting there providing this whole fucking foundation for the rest of the film to go on, right? The stability underneath, like...
He's the friend group that was probably with them while they all were freshmen.
Yeah.
And, you know, ended up graduating early, and he's trapped. Yeah. He's fucking stuck, and that hits him every time he sees anyone with the slightest bit more happiness than him.
Yeah.
And him taking around a kid, someone much younger than him.
He's hurt so deeply by the opportunity, or he's hurt so deeply by the thought that maybe this guy in this car is actually faster than me.
Faster than me. He's got a girlfriend who he loses halfway through the night.
Yeah.
And maybe he's happier than me, even though he's clearly just as bitter as fucking John is.
Hey, I like the color of your car there, man. What's that supposed to be? Sort of a cross between piss yellow and puke green, ain't it?
Yeah, and it's this moment where it's like, have I done the wrong thing? Have I screwed up? Should I still be here? And can I do anything about it? But it's also, you have this whole backstory of maybe he'll come back to remember that night when this dumb kid ended up getting in my car and we ended up spending the night together, and that was a fun time. You know, is it really wrong to sit and settle and to make a life for yourself someplace? You know, is this truly the worst possible thing that you could be? And, you know, unfortunately for this guy, he probably would never find that out because he would just get T-boned.
Yeah.
Just absolutely obliterated for no fucking reason.
Out of his fucking driveway.
The epitome of the eulogy of the rat and the wires, where for no particular reason, for things that the rat could never have understood, he was struck dead violently and immediately and would never know why. Kind of thing.
What's even crazier is, like, it's literally like, it's not even just like, oh, George got in a car accident. He was hit by a drunk driver and T-boned.
Yeah.
Like, and it kind of gives you, you're talking about like that ghost of a possible future that you have to ignore. That's George's own ghost.
Yeah.
And that gives me chills down my spine thinking about, like...
Yeah, that this version of George got to go off and become a writer and, you know, pursue creativity and all that sort of thing, whereas the ghost of him, you know, stayed in his hometown and continued driving his little yellow sports car until it got fucking obliterated.
Yeah.
And, no, it's very, very poignant. You wouldn't have that without John, so D-plot my fucking pussy.
No, that's like I said, it's one thing that, like, I would end up, like, watching that as as a teenager and be like, oh, I just, like, this whole thing bores me. But now I watch it and I'm like, oh, it sneaks up on you. I do think it's appropriate to bring up a quarter of this movie's cast got this movie and became star-making roles. Ron Howard, obviously, you know, son of a famous Western actor. would end up being on Happy Days, would end up directing Apollo 13. Willow, which he, collaborated with George Lucas on, of course. George Lucas was the producer and the co-writer on that. And then also would end up taking over for Lord Miller and direct Solo, a Star Wars story by George Lucas's guidance. I know that movie isn't the most popular. I think it's a super fun time.
Speaking of Solo, you got Harrison Ford for the first time ever.
Who doesn't do much, but
he's fucking. It's a little glimmer in there, showing like, hey, this dude's gonna be Han Solo.
What I think is hilarious though is I feel like John as a character represents Han much more than the character that Han Solo was playing in this movie. But I like seeing fucking Harrison Ford attempting to do like a Midwest accent.
Yeah.
It's really fucking funny. The way he calls Toad a dork is perfection.
Ain't nobody could beat him, man. He's got the fastest. I ain't nobody, dork.
Richard Dreyfuss obviously would go on to have a large career because of Spielberg with movies of Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Jaws.
No.
And he's a phenomenal actor in this little potato of a man in his dress shirt.
Oversized dress shirt.
Pants
with no definition.
Yeah, it's fucking, he's perfect though.
Yeah.
That whole sequence with him and his ex-girlfriend in the fucking, in the red VW where it's just, hey, Bob is just like madly in love with you and she has to keep looking over at your chiseled, beautiful biceps. And then he gets kicked out of it's just, And with that, I'm kind of talking about this. We've talked about studios and genre. Does genre matter? Is saying a movie has to be a comedy and fits into all these things, and if the movie's successful regardless of what it was labeled as. Genre filmmaking is something that directors get pigeonholed into because they did this. And obviously George would go on to be considered a genre filmmaker because he would direct Star Wars, which is a genre film. Do you think it's something that really matters at the end of the day with this? I'm going to be asking you this several times throughout the season.
With this one, I would say almost that it does kind of matter. George Lucas was told, like, I bet you can't make a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Right? And he sets about to do that sort of thing. And, to some degree, I think he's successful. We talked about, how it goes against, like, the studio comedies of the time and what we obviously know of comedies nowadays, which all fucking suck. So many fucking suck.
Just fucking asterisks here. We know not literally all comedies suck, but it's... yeah.
But it's George Lucas's idea of what a comedy is. And it sticks to a couple of the little bits and pieces. You have to have jokes. You have to have little bits and things here. But
likable characters.
But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like a springboard for his ideas on things. I don't think a genre absolutely needs to lock a movie down into one fucking place. I think when you do that, you end up with corporate slop, and it's terrible, right?
Those are the people running the distribution of the art of moving pictures.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is, for them, you need to lock down it. Like I said, this guy at Universal basically cussed George Lucas out.
Yeah.
Because he didn't stick to those.
Yeah.
It's a rarity that a movie like this gets out there. And, I'm not shitting on Animal House. I like Animal House. John Landis movie starring John Belushi. One of the most successful comedies of the 70s. But that's a fart movie comedy.
Yeah.
And that's okay. George Lucas obviously likes fart jokes himself. I love you, Jar Jar. I may not like the prequels, but I'm at best. You're fucking badass, and I love you. It is just this questionable thing, because I don't know, I think one of the things I want to discuss on this is I'm like, it's a complicated thing. I don't think genre matters all the time.
Yeah.
But I do think it can be a helpful thing for like categorizing, but as a business, I think it just does the horrible thing of pigeonholing artists into a particular range that George would never be allowed to escape. Which, I guess I do want to then transition that into the next topic, which is, George has never liked writing. That is the least favorite part of the process. But George, to be blunt, is a control freak.
Yes.
Which is fine. I get it. I fucking get... I get in arguments with him all the time about stupid things in this where I'm like, I'm cutting this. And he's like, why are you cutting that? And it's just because... It's bad. It fucks with the pacing. But it's like, I don't know. George, did his big weird art film for a studio, didn't do well, does a studio comedy the way he wants to, does monstrously well, and then does the original Star Wars trilogy that, while it's coming out, has its critics. And partially is responsible for the Hollywood New Wave.
Yeah.
Because that and Jaws created the blockbuster. As we know it. So it's a difficult thing to, I guess, kind of look at, to where it's like, George, he got 2 separate writers that were a couple to do a draft on this that he hated so much that he basically started from scratch.
Yeah.
He gave them like a rough 2-3 page outline, and they just went off on this different thing because they didn't understand the personal aspects. They don't know what cruising is. They never experienced cruising. So then he goes and writes this very personal script that I believe did have someone who touched up the dialogue.
Okay.
Which, as you know, is his...
Can sometimes be his weak point.
Yeah,
let's just say.
once again, the Star Wars prequels. It's
Yeah.
the thing that everyone makes fun of, but...
We walk in hallways and we talk. That whole thing.
I'm really enjoying this walk and talk.
Right? Not only is walking and talking visually stimulating, but also a great way to convey information.
I'd watch a whole movie that was mostly walking and talking.
Definitely.
I guess the one feeling of melancholy outside of the thematic stuff of the movie that I have watching this, that maybe is in itself like a thing that I should be more self-critical about. I can't help but watch this and almost feel like, man, I kind of wish that he hadn't made Star Wars. Because I love Star Wars. It's one of the most important movies in the world to me. But as much as that movie is important to me, I really wish George was able to make more movies, not necessarily exactly like this, but movies that are these intimate, personal things that don't have to be marketed as blockbusters.
No.
Like, the first Star Wars was a success, so that led to a decade in the 80s where science fiction and these big genre pictures were sort of the big things at the box office.
No.
But it's because they're ripping off Star Wars. So then he figured, this is the only thing I can make now.
Yeah.
And I feel like that made George kind of lean into a crutch, that nostalgia for my childhood. These serials like Flash Gordon, and stuff that, like, the adventure serials that Indiana Jones were based off of when he worked on that stuff with Spielberg as a writer. It really does have this sort of feeling that I'm like, did Star Wars ultimately do a kind of net negative for George? Because he did turn into a bit of a cynical businessman. He's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And that's kind of shit, to be honest.
I mean, it's just another one of these, it's a ghost of opportunity, I guess, that this one he happened to follow off into the sunset,
Yeah.
There's another world where, Star Wars didn't happen, or maybe just the one Star Wars happened, and then he moved on, and he made films that were just fine, that didn't massively break out and be these huge fucking blockbusters. Maybe he just started that wave and then moved on, but you really can't know about that. You're in a timeline where that's just not the case. I'm sure George thinks about it a lot, though. I'm sure he fucking sees...
Because when he sold Disney Lucasfilm, all he talked about is, I'm going to make a bunch of personal movies that you will never see.
Yeah.
And as much as I'm not sure that that's the reality, man, I hope he did.
Yeah.
I hope in his 80s...
Yeah. I really hope it's one of these things where one day he just opens up the vault and we get to discover, there's this whole back catalog of stuff, right? That, like Prince has got locked away, all this stuff that never really would see the light of day, but would give you an idea of who the person was and what kind of things were super fucking important to him, and what ideas maybe were lurking around in the back over here and just never got the chance to get funded, or just no one was confident in making them, or just, bigger projects got in the way. It's a terrifying thing to think about the stories that are locked in here that will die with you.
Yeah.
That there are characters that you love and that are beloved to you, and that have all these adventures and all these sorts of things that, you keep in here thinking one day, maybe I'll do something with that. And then, one day, whether it's by a car wreck or just the natural passage of time and what have you, you die, And all that stuff is kind of lost. It's very human for people to seek a library, to keep a library of things that are important to them. You know, in the cosmic sense of things, you know, we can fill a bookshelf with movies and with comics and with books and with all these sorts of things that represent us and that we feel are important, even though, you know, one day a big asteroid's gonna come and take us out. You know, this whole fucking rock that we're living on.
The thing that's fascinating about George is how he's kind of a contradiction of a man. He started out no money, obviously. He didn't want to run his dad's small business that he owned over in Modesto.
Yes.
And wanted to make art. He wanted to make countercultural art. He very much put himself in that movement. The reason why the Force is the way the Force is in Star Wars, it was this mystical, magical energy field and all the spiritual shit, is because he was into fucking crystal shit in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it fucking is. He's a hippie at heart. But as a result of wanting to gain independence and do all these sorts of things, as the original trilogy crept on, and as he realized the only way a special effects house can advance is you source out to other people's for like their own movies, he became the system.
Yeah.
And as a result of him becoming the system and doing the Star Wars prequels, and CGI becoming so prevalent, he introduced crunch into that industry. And as a result, did kind of have an abuse of power with a lot of these special effects things. What's that fucking second season of that ILM documentary? I'm sorry, on Disney Plus. I know a lot of people don't want to go on that. But it was one of those things that depressed me. It ends with them, all the people who worked in the model shop since the ILM days opened, having a mourning party.
And this is indeed hallowed ground. So I would just like to say, ILM Kerner, it's been a pleasure to know you. Thank you.
As like the model shop is like permanently closed down and that part of the special effects industry doesn't exist anymore. Because another thing, like they were forced to advance an industry that would destroy their careers.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating. Because I think George is a genius, and I think George has a kind heart, but I feel like in a lot of his like later years, with getting money and getting power into this sort of thing, it's the Darth Vader story. It's ultimately this corrupting thing, where he says he wants to make stuff easier for filmmakers, but so much of the rewarding part about filmmaking is getting over that difficult hump. If you don't have to shoot outside, if you have the volume with all these pre-rendered backgrounds, then a lot of the difficulty of making art is just kind of yanked away, and you lose a lot of that grit. The flaws, to me, are the fucking human side of it.
Yeah.
And I guess, to me, what we lost with, like, the prequels becoming these big, extravagant green screen movies, we lost George Lucas, the auteur.
Yeah.
In the traditional sense of what George was. We gained a whole new kind of auteur. And he created a kind of cinema that, to be honest, makes me sad.
Yeah. It's trading George Lucas the man for George Lucas the TM, I suppose. That's the way I put
George
it,
Lucas for the machine.
He's more machine than man.
And I know that's the cynical way to stop this episode, where I was talking about all these positive things, but it's stuff that creeps into me.
Yeah.
While I'm thinking about this.
Yeah, because this is the end of that kind of movie that George Lucas is making. Whether you like it or not, this is the last kind of hangout movie that he would make.
Yeah.
And you inevitably have to come to that conclusion, right? And that's not satisfactory, but a lot of things in life just fucking aren't.
Sometimes you are simply a ghost of a Thunderbird driving away as you look up from your plane going off towards the future.
Yeah.
Next month, Tony will have us a new episode, and we'll see what the fuck that is. But join us on the next episode of the Year of the Auteur, where we get a little goofy.